How the heck are you, everybody? I'm Fast Fastidious, and welcome to this week's edition of Should You Summon? This is a weekly series in which I release a video the evening before that weekend's banner in Watcher of Realms, where I address that question and answer it for all spending groups, should you summon? So, what is on the docket this week? Let's head over to the game, and you can see, pretty simple. We've got our 2x, which was the standard that we were getting every single weekend for 3 months. Was not the case last weekend, but it's back now, baby. However, keeping it fairly simple in terms of the banners for your rare summoning crystals and your legendary summoning crystals, your bluesies and your goldsies, if you will. That's it. So just if you want to do the 2x, you can do the 2x. However, the spice comes, the hero banner, with the special ancient summoning. So this is a 10x ancient exclusive summoning banner where we have a rate up on one normal legendary hero and one legendary lord. And as I do every week, I will be breaking the question down and answering it for all spending groups, those being free to play, low spender, mid spender, dolphin, and whale. As for you Krakens, of course you are summoning, so thank you so much for supporting the game. Have a blast doing it. So, the normal hero is a brand spanking new character in the game. I actually put a video out about him about a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. I think 2 weeks ago. And his name is Admiral Claw, aka the Black Blood Marauder. He is a Nightmare and Chaotic unit. He's a fighter. He's a ranged fighter. He's pretty good, interesting, a lot of penetration. More on him in just a moment. And then, of course, this legendary lord. Is this my Twinfiend? Kind of Daddy Pyros over here. However, Twinfiend, there is something complicated about him, right? He actually, in many comps, might perform worse than his epic counterpart when you do not have him at A1. A1 is when he will get the vulnerabilities, which inherently Pyros gets. Pyros just gets this from skill up, so he'll get a 20% physical damage vulnerability, 20% magic damage vulnerability. Twinfiend doesn't get that to start. However, if you get him Awaken 1, 25%. 5% better. That's 25% better relatively. Pretty good stuff. All in all, both solid heroes. Twinfiend is super duper exciting for the OG lords. However, that is a question, right? Is it worth summoning on a banner for an OG lord, a normal lord? We all want those ancient exclusives. And then how good is Admiral Claw actually going to be? Should you guys be ripping those pulls for him? It's a big question. Let's get into it.
Fastidious.
Fastidious.
Alrighty guys, let's start talking about the heroes so we can start answering the question, should you summon? If you want to learn as much as you can from me about Claw, I have a full video breaking down his kit, as I said. That came out, I want to say 10 days ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. So that was my first impressions, kind of deep dive into him. We're going to do a brief version of that now. And then Twinfiend, I will go a little deeper into this hero just to give you some more information. However, I have some really great content coming out about Twinfiend and Pyros and Soul Cadens. I think you guys are going to really like it. It's going to be test server content where we do a direct Infernal Lord comparison in the guild boss. A3 Pyros, A0 Twinfiend, A1 Twinfiend, A1 Soul Cadens, A3 Soul Cadens. And you know what? Just to be thorough, we'll throw in A0 Soul Cadens as well. However, I'm waiting to get them to send me extra copies of those units so I can directly compare A0 and A3, for example, Soul Cadens, or A1 and A3, or A0 and A1 with Twinfiend, something like that. I want everyone to have complete information. You could be thinking, why don't you just take your Soul Cadens, do them at A0, then awaken him A1, then awaken him twice A3, because then I never have an A0 Soul Cadens or an A1 Soul Cadens to use again, which I might need to use for other content. Or same thing with Twinfiend at A0 or A1 or something, right? So I do want to wait for that. It might seem pedantic, but it is going to be worth it. The video is going to be an absolute slapper, and it will feature the lovely pink Jesus. If you had to pick a color for Jesus, it's not the worst one there is. So let's talk about Claw, then let's talk about Twinfiend. There's a lot of nuance with Twinfiend, so let's lead it off with Claw. Brand new hero. He's a Nightmare fighter. I don't know if you guys, do we have any Nightmare fighters in the game? We have one or two. We definitely have one or two. He's also chaotic, so that's pretty cool. Overall, he reads interesting, is what I'll say. People had comments, or at least one person, I can't remember your name, I'm so sorry, so you can let me know in the comments of this video, talked about the talent, that I might have read it wrong. And it's super possible, but I also might have read it right. And that's the problem. It's like, why is this so confusing? It says increases penetration by 5% for every 10% loss of HP, up to 30%. So he was saying that means it's going to go when he's down to 40% HP. So he's lost 60% HP. It's increased 6 times, so 5 times 6. So it's increased up to 30%. The penetration increase has gone up to 30%. Kind of makes sense. I read this as loss of HP up to 30%. So he's lost up to 30%. So he's at 70% or less HP. So it's 15% increased penetration. You see what's going on here? I actually think the viewer is right, whomever said that, he, she, or they, but I don't know, because it's just this comma doesn't do much work at all. Some dashes might help if they did one before, one after. I think maybe it's saying it increases your penetration up to 30% for every 10% loss of HP. So to get it from 5% to 30% with every 10% loss, you would need 6 occurrences. So I know it's getting annoying here, but 5 times 6, right? So that's how that would work. So that would be once you're 40% or lower, or it could be what I thought. Once you've lost 30%, that's the maximum. So you've had 3 instances, right? So you lose your first 10%, second 10%, third 10%. Now you've lost up to 30, and you're at 15%. I do think this is 30% though, and I know that I've rambled on now for a full minute. I'm looking at the clock, but what are you doing, Moonton? Your game's so good, and you're so much worse at this than other games. It's so confusing. I've put out 2 Praetus videos now that I've put a ton of work into. First one I had mistakes, second one I had mistakes. I hate making mistakes. I'm eventually gonna have a third one where I clear up the last couple things, just because the way the tooltips do and they all interact with each other and they refer back to other things. My sweet God, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Okay, cool talent. He gets penetration. We might as well actually talk about his base stats. If we look over here, they are fine. 49-23 for physical damage fighter, legendary, chaotic. Would I like to see more? Absolutely. Let me actually explain why I would like to see more. Let's head over to that gallery. Let's go now. Here are our fighters, right? Actually, I was joking before if that wasn't clear. The Nightmare faction is littered with fighters. I think, honestly, the game kind of is, and I'm ready for some mages or marksmen, Moonton, and maybe some less Nightmare units in general. I mean, what the heck? We've already had 2 brand new Nightmare fighters since the game started. Actually, 3 if you count Arrogance as well, because he joined right at the beginning as well. And Lugaru, 4, and Valeria, 5. It's nonstop. Oh my God. Everybody that gets added is a Nightmare fighter. But let's just look at Arrogance. You can see 52-48, so that's higher, right? And he's not even a chaotic unit. If we look at chaotic units, through the roof, baby. Look at that, 61-72. Let's look at Lugaru, 61-72, identical. If we look at Giselle, who does more of an AoE, still pretty high, 52-48. So he is going to be the lowest attack of any of these types. However, he does have lots of penetration, where it lets them ignore things, and penetrate deeper into those kits, into the defenses of his enemies. So, I mean, it's something, but it is worth noting. It's low, right? Relative for a legendary Nightmare fighter, which unfortunately for them, I know intimately well because they've added 10,000 of them into the game. So there you go. Let's keep going. Prioritizing enemy units within one tile, dealing 100% damage to main target and 25% splash damage to up to 2 enemies near the main target. If there's no target within one tile, cast Soul Lasher. So Soul Lasher is pretty cool. I gotta say, I think the multipliers upon this are kind of meh. Like, they're kind of selling him as like the new guy that's got that Zela 2 Arrogance Aracha Apsin range, which I like. But he's going to prioritize the closer targets, right? So enemies within one tile. So that's not too exciting. And then the splash is very underwhelming, isn't it? 25% splash damage. I mean, granted, he can penetrate, as we've discussed, but I don't know. It goes up to 120%. It's like supremely fine. Soul Lasher pulls one enemy in range and chains to the front, dealing 150% damage. Solid. It's only pulling one enemy. If it pulled a bunch, then you could kind of control placements on the map. Let's go a little quicker here. You can watch my other video for deeper dives. Those depths are deep. Pulls at most 5 enemies into range. I wish it was more again, but it's fine. 250% AoE damage to all. This goes up to 350. Skill cost very nice at 500. He's a manual unit. Usually when we see it that low, it's an auto ult. So I think manual is always basically better. It's really good. He'll be a good candidate for Soulbound Arcana. All in all, though, 350%, not that much. Only 5 enemies. I mean, we've seen things so much higher in this game. Again, I think a lot of his multipliers are tuned down, and a lot of his base stats are tuned down because of the penetration in this kit. For every 3 attacks, reduces 5% current HP, increases damage 2% permanently, right? Upon triggering this effect 10 times, basic attacks turn into Bloodstorm Annihilator. So this increase in damage can go up to 6%, so it can be eventually a 60% increase in damage, right? And then also after the 10th trigger, we're gonna just permanently have our basic attacks be this, increases attack by 20%, but also every attack increases attack interval. I hate that they don't tell us by how much. Every attack launch reduces 5% of current HP, doing 180% damage to the main target, 40% splash damage, right? So a bit better, but whatever. I'm not blown away. either. When in Bloodstorm Annihilator state, that's once you've activated this after the 10, now increases damage to enemies whose HP is below 30% by 20%, so help you pick off those enemies that are close to death. That is basically the kit. He can get some more penetration and stuff from his awakenings. You see additional penetration. We get some attack here. When in Annihilator state, he can also do some vulnerability. Nothing too thrilling here with 15%, but it's there. It's fine. Another 8% penetration. And then Bloodstorm Annihilator state, the attack interval does not increase. So I'm assuming the attack interval increases in a significant way once you enter that state, but it is absolutely hard to say, right? Because we don't know how much it increases, so it's hard to know how great a relief this is. And I hate that, like, when heroes A5, we have the same thing with Cratch, when a hero's A5 is like, all right, now they don't penalize themselves because of something. All in all, I think he's certainly not going to be bad. I think someone shouted out, again, I cannot remember who, someone in my chat, he's going to be great for Nightmare Faction Trials. So it's hard to get excited about a chaotic unit, ancient exclusive, that's going to help you in one specific normal faction trial. But nonetheless, right now, arrogance is nearly a necessity. Very, 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 very few people can do it without arrogance. It's near impossible. And certainly, if you're not using arrogance, you probably are using hot sit. So now you got another ranged fighter to help out. I think it's fine. I think he's, people get upset, like these characters that aren't like Ardia or the top ones are bad, Ardia, Uridan, and so on and so on. He's certainly not going to be bad, but until I see him, and I'm not going to rule it out, but I don't see a way that he's going to be great. Maybe there's content to come where you desperately need penetration, but overall, he doesn't blow me away at all. So now let's go to the one we're going to spend a bit more time on. That's going to be Twinfiend. Love the design, one of my favorite heroes in the game, an absolute monstrosity. We can actually turn this video on while I discuss it. So he is a Lord of the Infernals. He's a legendary Lord. Infernals very much are the Lords of the Guild Boss, right? We can go to Guild Boss after this if you guys want, or yeah, I'll show you. A lot of the best teams in the world do use Infernal teams. Basically, you mostly see nowadays Infernal and then Piercer, sometimes Infernal and Nightmare, but Infernal, right? With the Infernal Lords, they, especially Pyros and Twinfiend, right? It really seems they need like Seal 2 to absolutely shine. Just the way that the kind of like the funkiness of all the kits interact. Zeal 2 kind of becomes the selfish one and takes tons of damage. That's channeled through, like, that she gains through the focus fire. It's very convoluted the way it works. I've discussed it with T, but usually coming from all different directions that aren't directly inside her kit. However, you won't see that similar boost if you're running an Infernal team without Seal 2. That being said, I've heard this being bandied around that you don't even need to run an Infernal team if you don't have Seal 2. Baloney. Absolute baloney. That's ridiculous. You need to run at, say, at least 3 DPS besides your Lord, and obviously not counting Dolores if you're using her. But it's ridiculous to say that an Infernal team is not meta if you don't have Zeal 2. You might not see that absolute bang for your buck that you're expecting if you do have her. But by no means should people not go for this because they don't have Zeal 2 or so on and so on. Let's go to World Rankings. I'll just show you Twinfiend, 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 Soul Cadens. It took us down to 14. So well, I thought that'd be a nice way to discuss the next thing. Oh, and look at that. The next one is the first one that doesn't have a Twinfiend or Soul Cadens. We got a little Pyros. So actually, what a great way to discuss it. So that's why I'm doing a whole video about this. Twinfiend is the best, and the reason he is because he's the least selfish between the two legendary lords, him and Soul Cadens. Pyros, then you see, immediately makes an appearance. That's because this is an A5 Pyros. This person does not have an A1 Twinfiend then, otherwise that would be better. How much better Pyros is than an A0 Twinfiend, you'll have to watch my video to find out. But Soul Cadens, you see, he doesn't make as many an appearance, and is it a coincidence that he's not running a full Infernal team? Because it definitely appears to me, yes, that he is running Hex as a Piercer. That's because Soul Cadens is a pretty selfish hero, as opposed to like other legendary lords in this game, especially like the OG ones, the normal ones. They are more selfless. It's more about their lord skill. Their kits aren't that great. No one's deploying a Racha in these battles, right? She's there for her lord skill to help out her Piercer fellas, right? That's not how Soul Cadens works. I mean, we'll do the whole other thing on him, but they don't let me see. I'll just hop to the gallery so I can show you what Soul Cadens does. Essentially, is this will make more sense once we see Twinfiend's lord skill. But if we go here, Soul Cadens does tons of stuff to help himself, right? So talent effect increases damage by 10% for 12 seconds. So that's his damage, right? Mark one target with the highest BP for 10 seconds, which all heroes will prioritize attacking them. Then an explosion. Then the Lord, he's going to gain Pyro Blitz, channels all this stuff. Damage of the strike increases, affects some flash damage, but a lot of things to help himself. And then they discuss the Lord effect. He gives penetration increase to his faction allies, and they deal 30% increased damage to elites and bosses. Obviously, the guild boss is a boss. If we go to Twinfiend, however, and we look here, he does not do that hell Break Chaos or whatever. What was it called? Oh my god. Hell Loose, Flamey, Pyro Blitz, and Hell Breaks Loose. Twinfiend does the Meteoric Strike, and that comes with Focus Fire, the same thing as Pyros. If you see Focus Fire, similar thing here, 800%, just like that. Pyros is 700%. Soul Cadence also does 800%. But there you have it. We got to look at the Lord skill, though. So not just penetration increase and damage increase. Instead, it's penetration increase, no damage increase, but then crit rate increase and crit damage increase. All in all, it's kind of a wash here. It depends on the kind of builds you are doing. For that higher level stuff like Guild Boss, that crit damage increase probably could be a lot more potent. Penetration increase here is going to be identical. But you can see, so he's kind of synergizes better with the rest of the team. Soul Cadence is also gaining 70% attack and 80% crit damage attributes from the participating faction allies, so it's going to strengthen him but weaken them somewhat. Whereas, Twinfiend has no such thing with his Focus Fire. They're just going to join him and he's going to channel their energy to team up for a powerful strike. So Soul Cadence, the reason you can see those, and eventually you will see them as people get more and more copies, especially as people have A3 Soul Cadence. Again, more on that in the future. When that happens, you'll see him all over the leaderboards, but he's brand new. He's super, super rare. Twinfiend has been out since launch. Many people have whaled and krakened and thus have not A1, but A3 or A5 Twinfiend, right? So he's a great option. Eventually, he will be outclassed, but I feel like people saying they don't want to pull on it because then it's like he's going to get replaced by Soul Cadence. If you pull Twinfiend and then you pull Soul Cadence and then you get A1 Soul Cadence, or before you get A1 Twinfiend or something, or if you pull Twinfiend or you already have A1 Twinfiend and then you quickly get Soul Cadence and then A1 Soul Cadence, what a great problem to have, What a lovely situation to be in. That is such a daydreamy hypothetical. It's like, I already have this one amazing Guild Boss Legendary Lord, but it's going to be so frustrating when I have to throw him in the bin because I got the other better one. I mean, good luck. That'd be awesome, right? Absolutely, I think anyone that does not have Twinfiend should go for this. There's one exception. Actually, I'll just articulate right now. If you already have A1 Twinfiend, no way. No way at all. Absolutely. I guess the other one would be if you have A0 Soul Cadence and you're like, do I really want to pull A0 Twinfiend and then just see who I pulled an extra copy of first? It's not worth it. Absolutely, right? You could be in a situation where you have an A3 or an A5 Pyros and you're in a holding pattern because you already have Soul Cadence. At that point, yeah, sure. Just you're in holding pattern with Soul Cadence. You get your Soul Stone. The damage difference won't be that different. That is super fine. But anyone that doesn't have Soul Cadence, doesn't have Twinfiend, absolutely should go for it. I don't care about your Pyros. You'll eventually get a Legendary Soul Stone and you'll get that A1. And then certainly if you have A0 Twinfiend, you should be salivating because this is going to be the best chance. You're going to have a lot higher chance to pull Twinfiend now. I'll just tell you, we'll get into the numbers at the end. You'll have over a 50% chance to get Twinfiend if you do hit on a Legendary Lord, whereas you got a teeny tiny chance to get a Legendary Soul Stone from one of those Guild Boss chests that Twinfiend is going to help you get. So let's get into his kit here. When attacking, there's a 20% chance to hit the hero himself, dealing damage equal to 1% of max HP. Afterwards, entering into an Infernal Rage for 10 seconds. They will inflict a burning effect, so burning is nice, a little dot damage, doesn't matter too much. We're going to go pretty fast here. Single target magic damage. Here we're going to have an AoE, doesn't matter too much. What matters is the Focus Fire, so we'll go quick through the beginning. Marks a target in range, prioritizing with the highest HP, so a great boss killer, specifically with the Guild Boss. This is going to be the only person there. Prioritizes the target, meaning calling 3 bouts of meteor showers upon the target and surrounding enemies, each dealing 100% damage and inflicting stun and burning. The mark will explode in 10 seconds, dealing 300% AoE damage. When the hero is deployed as Lord, gains Focus Fire. So the first part you can basically ignore for Guild Boss. If you're using it for other stuff, though, I mean, he can be good, especially earlier on in like Gear Raid 1. Eventually, he could be good in other content where you need this kind of AoE with some stun and some burning. The problem is you're probably not going to want to use him as a Lord for AoE content because you don't have many AoE damage dealers in the Infernal class, right? In the Infernal faction. Those are mostly coming from like Chaotic and Esotericist. But let's go to Focus Fire. Faction allies, as I said, they're going to join and channel forces to the Lord for a powerful strike. It's a strange thing. It's a strange animation. People kind of look like they get locked out, but the end result is one big blast. It can be a big tick down on the Guild Boss. It's supremely powerful if you build your team right. Then we've got Sweltering Rage. When the ultimate is triggered, immediately enters the Infernal Rage state. This is, again, he could trigger this himself, 20% chance from the talent. Now he's getting that burning out. While in the state, he's also going to increase damage by 30% and attack speed by 60. Just like with Pyros, you're going to want his attack speed super high, his rage regen nice and high, but you want that ult coming up as much as possible. And I do have to mention, his ult is dirt cheap, only 500, so nice and good. Here we can go cremating Tempest, attacks a target with burning, creating an explosion that deals 40% AoE damage. That damage is going to be negligible. And then, of course, we said Feast of Devastation, that Lord skill. So your basic thing, 15%. And then we've got when he casts his Meteoric Strike, all faction allies gain penetration increase increase, crit rate increase, crit damage increase. So crit rate increase probably won't matter too much. I mean, it doesn't hurt if you aren't able to crit cap everyone. Eventually, I think everyone will do that, but it's great in the beginning. Penetration increase is tremendous, ignoring 30% of defense and magic res, and then crit damage increase, really, really nice. Crit damage goes such a long way, especially with more advanced builds in the guild boss. He's a guild boss god. So yeah, that's basically what we're looking at here. And now let's actually answer some questions. Should you flippin' summon? Well, have I got a treat for you? I actually didn't want to tease that at the beginning because I think people should be rewarded for making it a nice chunk of the way into my video. I've got the rates of this banner. Stick with me. All right, guys, what a surprise. What a lovely treat. Shout out to Seamus and, of course, T, our fantastic, let's say, data gatherer. These are the rates. These are the actual rates of the banner that will come into the game tomorrow. Obviously, I wanted to wait to do this so they wouldn't be able to change it if they watched my video. If you're wondering why we haven't released all the information we have, I think you can put 2 and 2 together. We want to handle this very delicately. Also, it is the data that T has gathered, so we're doing it at his discretion. However, I'm fully cleared to share this. These are the rates of the banner, baby. So top, we're going to see this is the rates once you have pulled a normal legendary. Bottom, these are the rates once you have pulled a normal legendary lord. So let's start with the normal and let's get into the legendary. I'm not going to do a full breakdown of these rates. I'll have a separate video doing that next week, probably within a few days, actually. But what's good to note here is basically the only suppressed rates you can see are the ones you can get from normal summons, so that's great. Everyone else basically has the same exact rate, and then the 10x rate, basically, his weight has been increased, so now he's a 10x rate up, is going to be Admiral Claw. So you can see normally he would have the same rate as like Uridan, 4.348%. Now it's 10 times higher, so 443.478%. So if you pull a legendary, still nearly 60% of the time it won't be Admiral Claw, but there's a pretty high likelihood if you pull a normal legendary hero, it will be Admiral Claw. Now to the hero most people will be interested in. You'll see the legendary lord rates, beginning with Cyrus, going all the way down to Twinfiend, from low to high. The one thing of note here is the Snake Blood Empress. That is how the game refers to Venoma. Perhaps that was her old name or like a working name before they renamed her Venoma. And then finally, we've got Twinfiend. So Twinfiend normally has a rate just like Aracher, Ajax, or Venoma at basically 5%, 5.085%. So now that is 10 times higher. Now the weighted probability has been adjusted that his rate is 10 times higher. So it's just over 50%, 50.847%. We can round that up to about 51%. You've got between a 50 and 51% chance to get Twinfiend if you hit on a Legendary Lord, basically a coin flip. So that should probably answer the question for you guys, right? If you want Twinfiend, you should pull on him, because if you're lucky enough to hit Legendary Lord, you're flipping a coin, baby. 1 out of 2 chance it is going to be him. These are the rates we got directly from the game file, right? However, if you don't want him, you absolutely should not pull on this, regardless of your spender, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, it's very likely, right? It's a 1 in 2 chance. Flip that coin, baby. And that's kind of what it all comes down to. I would say people that don't understand how the pity works for Ancients, the pity is specifically just for Legendary Lords. So you don't have to be worrying, because this is kind of how I was thinking, even though I already knew it. And then I was like, calm down, guy, you know what to do. Because I originally wasn't going to pull on this. I wanted to just save. But like Admiral Claw, like if I hit him, it doesn't reduce my chance in any way that my next summon will be my A1 Ardia or Thalen or Uridan or someone I'd really like, or Eunomia, right? It doesn't hurt my chance at all. It doesn't reset anything. It just means that that one summon wasn't them, you know? So that one that you actually hit on, yes, you had a reduced chance, and it could have been someone else. But it's not like in the future I've been hurting a pity or something. With the Legendary Lords, it absolutely does. Many people do have to go to full pity on this. I mean, hopefully you all get lucky. I will pull on it. I'll just tell you my stance right now. I have A3 Pyros. I have the stones to make my 5 if I wanted. I'm happy with him at A3. If I got A0 Twinfiend, I almost certainly would stick with my A3 Pyros. I'd probably, actually, I'll say me, I do have Twinfiend's exclusive artifact. So it's possible I would get him in there and he could do more damage. That'd be pretty fun. And I'd love to play around with him. I think he looks so cool. But in general, you know, if you need him, you should go for him regardless of spending group. So let's start answering that question, because it's a coin flip. It's a coin flip. It's a coin flip, right? What else is there to say? It's a flippin' coin flip. Let's put on the screen that gorgeous, gorgeous 2-headed man and let's talk about it. So free to play. Totally, you should do it. If you're free to play, I mean, of course, if you already have Twinfiend A1, then you shouldn't. Or if you have Soul Cadence at all. Otherwise, you should absolutely do it, and I don't really care. I don't think there's anyone else that could maybe help a free-to-play get to 50k more than an A1 Twinfiend. So, yeah, you might get him now, and then eventually, hopefully, you get that Legendary Soul Stone. That could be the last push. That would be a big difference. That would really help, right? That'd be pretty tremendous. If I got Twinfiend and then an A1 and then a Soulstone to make him A1 in the next few weeks, I think I'd be looking really pretty at my 50K, right? And like you could, so free to play later down the line when their account is like where mine is at or someone else is at. I think that's a great position to be in. Low spender, same exact thing. I mean, it's kind of, honestly, this is going to be the same answer for every spending group because ancients are so rare. Honestly, the real distinction is going to come at the top. If you're a whale or a kraken, if you want to even bother for this, or just save up for trying to go hard on Soul Cadens. But yeah, for those lower groups, it's like you don't plan around getting ancient exclusive lords. Good luck with that. I'd be happy to get any lord. I've gotten one lord ever. It was at the very beginning of the game. I got Morrigan. I haven't sniffed one since. I've done 4,500 normal summons. I've done who knows how many gold summons, whatever free ones I've gotten through the game. Not one. I got Morrigan at the very beginning with like my, I think, 15th ancient summon I ever did on the second banner ever, the first 10x banner they ever did on global. I got lucky. I've not sniffed a lord since. So people daydreaming of their Cyruses and their Elders and their Dummies and their Soul Cadens, daydream all you want, but that's no reason to not pull. I mean, if you think you're in the position where your account's strong enough that you can just hoard and wait, then absolutely. But I think, who knows, if they're doing Twinfiend now, they're definitely not doing Soul Cadens this month or probably next month. So I would say do it. So that basically it's going to go all the way through and then we'll just go up to whales and even Krakens. I'll talk to you, Krakens. I've got advice. Basically, if you don't have Twinfiend, or especially if you have Twinfiend A0, not A1 yet, you got to do it. You've got to pull. I think so. And if you don't have Soul Cadens, you got to do it. No question. I don't care about your price. You just got to do it. You will be happy that you did it in the future. And it's like, I don't like. There's no lord that you'd be so hurting to have that I can think of. If someone can think of a reason that I'm missing, let me know. You got to do it. It's not so exciting because yeah, you might pull it and be like, it could have been Soul Cadens. It won't be. Or for 99.9% of you, I'm going to tell you, it won't be. So there you go. You also could pull Soul Cadens, right? You're still in the pool. And then for the top guys, if you're going to spend a lot, I could kind of see it. I bet you a lot of you probably already have Twinfiend. Certainly if you have A1 Twinfiend, I would absolutely stop. This is not the banner for you. It's a tough thing to say, but I think a lot of the top guys probably are going to have A0 Twinfiend, but maybe not A1. Probably is worth pulling to get your A1. It would make a big difference from what your Pyros you're using or whatever. I think you'll have to evaluate for yourself. You know how big a spender you are. If you're a big boy spender, when the Soul Cadens thing comes, you could get multiple. You see how powerful the rate up is while the pool remains limited. Even if they double Soul Cadens up with another here, you'd still be looking at like 30% each or something, high 20s each. So, you know, if you're willing to put enough cash in there, you should get a few copies. But you might be waiting for a while. And I think so. If you don't already have A1 Twinfiend, I think the same thing holds. Maybe if you do have A0 Soul Cadens, maybe the strat is just to pull hard on this. And eventually, if you pull hard on every Ancients, you'll get your extra copy. But really, you're going to want Soul Cadens A3. That's really the thing. So go, guys, check out Special K. He has one of the few A3 Soul Cadens. I know Educated Potato does as well. They've got A3 Soul Cadens, so you guys can go check them out. I know I kind of went slightly off the rails here and there, but this is a fun banner. So I always love doing the Should You Summon stuff, guys. And I kind of was holding it inside, but very excited to show you that we had the actual rates of this actual banner. So there you go, guys. Ivan Fastidious. If you like my stuff, like it, subscribe, get in the comments, share it with your mother. I'll see you in the next one.
Fastidious.